You've never learned to access flow states around women, which is in part why they lose interest in you. You've never had real abundance in your life either. You've never experienced what it's like to not care at all whether a date goes good or not. You've never experienced what it's truly like to have an amazingly beautiful woman inside out in front of you and just come up with one amazing sentence after another to make her laugh, to get her excited, to be polarizing. You've never really experienced those peak levels of male existence in an interaction with a truly attractive woman, because you may be confident around the women that you don't like that much, but the ones you actually really like, oh, something is inhibiting you from being fully free in your expression. In this video, I'm going to give you some strategies that will help you to access those flow states, because in and of itself, that is rewarding. In and of itself, that's one of the most beautiful experiences you could ever have as a man. And then, on top of that, it's obviously going to help you in creating and sustaining attraction, which will help you to not get these texts anymore where women tell you, I'm too busy, I just need to focus on myself right now, I'm not ready for a relationship. These are all just polite rejections. She just didn't want you to get your feelings hurt. Most women reject you in a very kind way, by the way. The reason she's making an excuse like that is not because she's fake or a liar. She doesn't want to hurt you. She's trying to be nice. It's not her fault. Stop consuming all this content on the internet that's telling you that women are so horrible these days. I love it when guys are blaming women or society or the dating market. You are making excuses. You are a loser. The only guys who are making excuses like that are losers. So if you're the type of guy who doesn't make excuses, or at least very rarely, or you catch yourself when you're making an excuse, and then you revert back to assuming personal responsibility for where you're at, then let's dive right in. How can you access these levels of flows? There's an answer that you're not going to like, and then there's a couple of things that are going to make it actually easy. Let's start with the nice and easy stuff, shall we? So that you don't tune out too quickly. One of the things that's going to allow you to experience those levels of flow with women is to become present to the moment and not lost in your head. Because what stops you from being in flow is thinking about what she's going to say next, whether she'll approve of what you have to say or not, how she's perceiving you, whether the color is on point, whether my vampire teeth are too weird. You get lost in thought. So what can you do when you get lost in thought on a date, or during an initial approach, or at any point in time, really? You remember this truth, which is that all you ever have is the present moment. So much of our life is spent in defiance of the fact that all we have is this moment. The past is history. The future is imagination. And when the future arrives, it'll arrive at this very present moment as is. It's all you have. So how do you practically ground yourself in reality? You start using your senses. What do you see? You turn your attention outward onto her. You turn your attention from your thoughts. And by the way, the mind secretes thoughts. That's what the mind does. There's nothing wrong with a brain producing thoughts. The only problem is when you get lost in it. So you turn your attention outward. Keep in mind, the only thoughts that have power over you are the ones you choose to believe, my friend. You can simply recognize a thought and let it arise in the space of loving awareness. But you don't do that, do you? The thought that, I miss her. I want her. She was the one. She didn't text me back. I wonder if she's with some other guy. How is she perceiving me? Is my hair on point? You immediately associate with the thoughts. You believe the thoughts. You become one with a thought. But you forget that you are not your thoughts, my friend. Most of the suffering we experience as human beings is because we believe thoughts. That's it. Most of the suffering you are experiencing or you have experienced in the past is because you believe thoughts that aren't even real. Wayne Dyer says, No one knows enough to be a pessimist. You believe thoughts that take power away from you. Think about it. I saw this video on the internet recently, which was genius, saying that the worst thing that you've always feared in your life never actually came true. Did you ever notice that becoming homeless or dying never actually happened? You're still here. And funny enough, even if the disease did happen, even if you went through a phase of homelessness, even if you actually went through something really terrible, you're still here, which means you made it through, which means you never had to be afraid of it to begin with. You suffer a gazillion times over and over again. The brave man, he only dies one death. The coward dies 1,000 deaths. What are you truly afraid of? What if the date doesn't go well? What if we don't end up making love? What if she's going to end up with John instead? You believe thoughts, and then you're in there, and then you produce anxiety and stress, and then you get stifled, and then you're just not fun to be around. Because remember, fun is the currency. Positive emotions are the currency. If you can become the source of good emotions for her, she'll want to be around you. But if you make it fun, or if you're not fun, if you make it heavy, if you make it an interview, if you have deep and meaningful conversations, because David, I'm a man of substance. I'm a man of substance as well. That was one of the things I struggled with in the beginning. Making things very deep and meaningful. And I love that, but there's a time and a place for that. Fun is the currency. Doesn't mean you have to become an entertainer. Doesn't mean you have to become a clown. Doesn't mean you have to become super funny, but more fun and lighthearted. How about that? So you recognize the thought, oh, I hope the date goes well. Oh, what does she think about my joke? You see the thought, you let it arise, as Jack Kornfield says, in the space of loving awareness. Mind like sky. Oh, there's the thought. Oh, interesting thought. The critical mind, the fearful mind. Thank you for your opinion. I'm okay right now. And then you return back to your breath and you ground yourself in your being, because you are not your thoughts. But if you continuously identify with thoughts that take power away from you in a dating context, it will ruin your confidence, and you will not be able to be present to the moment, and you won't be able to access those flow states. It doesn't mean you have to be in absolute and utter perfect flow all the time for the day to be effective. No, but it drastically increases the chances. And would you not rather live in a state of flow as much as possible? Because what is life ultimately about? Really only two things. Being happy, making other people happy. Reducing suffering for other people, and making other people happy. That's the meaning component, which comes through the assumption of responsibility. And then there's making yourself happy. And by the way, I believe you have a moral duty to make yourself happy, because if you're a father, or you're going to be a future father, or just a functioning member of society, you impact people with your energy. If you're not happy, you make people around you unconsciously a little bit more miserable, because people aren't just impacted by what you tell them or the facade you put on, but by your energy. That doesn't mean that everything has to be perfect, but where do you live emotionally? And believing thoughts that are disempowering is going to harm you in the long term. And by the way, your mind is not working against you. Your mind is trying to help you survive. It's your job to make you happy, but your mind is trying to make you survive, because there's really only two things for the mind. There's opportunities and threats. It groups every stimulus into an opportunity or a threat. And if left to its own devices, it'll always make you aware of the threats much faster than the opportunities, because an opportunity can only be so good. There's only so much pleasure you can be experiencing. But on the other hand, a threat can ultimately mean your end. The end of your existence, the end of your genetic legacy. That's why we become aware of threats and things that are potentially bad if you leave the mind alone. It's not because it's working against you, it's trying to make you survive. So say thank you for making me aware of what could go wrong. And especially in your job, your business, you're in part paid for identifying what could go wrong, for anticipating. Because winners anticipate, losers react. But if you want to be happy, you need to bring yourself to the present moment. And choose very consciously which thoughts you believe. And I would invite you to consider the possibility that it's no more authentic to be positive than to be negative. It's no more authentic to walk around a critic, nihilistic, being realistic, than it is to be almost delusionally optimistic and self-confident. And being truly confident, consciously choosing empowering thoughts to believe about yourself won't make you arrogant. It'll make you treat people better if you're a good, kind person. It doesn't take anything away from anybody. I would love for you to experience levels of flow, so bring yourself to the present moment. You can learn to meditate. You can use life as an opportunity to meditate. Become aware of you identifying with thoughts, grounding yourself back in the present moment, and then letting go. Letting go does not mean living in apathy, by the way. A lot of people who are in spirituality, they become very apathetic. They won't take action, which is the next thing we're going to talk about. The thing you don't want to hear. But letting go actually means I can take a lot of action, but I can relax. I'm fully engaged, yet detached. Engaged, yet detached. Fully present, yet detached from any outcome. The next thing you have to do to get into flow is take massive action. Tony Robbins says massive action is the cure-all. You actually have to get out there and seek a lot of interactions. In person, on dating apps, on Instagram. The more interactions you have, the more you practice, the better you'll get at it. Does that mean you'll have to go on hundreds of dates? No, but it'll take a little bit more volume than you thought. And if you're a man with a successful career or your own business and you'd like me to help you personally find the right girlfriend or wife, apply for a free initial consultation. Looking forward to speaking with you soon. Take care.